gonna make this video for anyone using an AMD graphics card, and if you're kind of lost about how to like record with this driver, or, like these drivers, because trust me, I was too. So you do require a newer AMD card. This is not for the older ones who use the catalyst control instead of what we normally use, which is the AMD Control Center, I think. I'm not too sure about that, but it's just the newer one, so it has to be the newer one. So let's get right into it. So video settings, this is by far going to be like one of the most important factors. So base canvas resolution, you don't really need a lot about it. You just set it to whatever resolution your screen is. So I set it to 1080 because I have a 1080p monitor. If you have a 720p monitor, set it to 720. It's not going to affect your performance. Set it to 1440p. If you have a 1440p monitor, it's not going to affect your performance. Just set it. And output scaled resolution. So this is the one that's going to affect your performance. Right now I'm recording, so I can change it, but set it to 720p. If you have a bad PC, set it to 1080p like me if you have a good PC, a decent to moderate PC. But if you're recording in 1440p, I definitely recommend you don't, because trust me, recording in 1080p makes editing and like everything a lot easier, because 1440p is generally a lot of pixels for any good graphics card to handle. So I definitely recommend you recording it at 1080p with length cells. So what length cells is basically it adds a lot of details to your videos. So instead of just having pixels, it just shows every detail. So if I scale it up on the mouse part, which I obviously won't because there's no point to that, but if I do, then like it's not going to be a complete blurry mess. You might see something. So usually I record videos like this at 1080p. I scale it up to 1440p because of YouTube's shitty codecs from 1080p, because those codecs are only reserved for big YouTubers. So unless you're really popular watching this video, you can just upload it at 1080p and it's going to make life a lot easier for you. So yeah. Audio, I set it to basically I just set this to my default audio device. So yeah, I just set it to that. And this is for so you see, this is called the encoder. I usually use the HEVC encoder because it's much more efficient with subbing stuff. For this, I actually wanted to change it to the HEVC encoder, because HEVC is basically called MP5, not a gun, but it's an extension. It's better than MP4. It's more efficient. And yeah, for streaming settings, I just set it to 720p because there's really no point in streaming at 1080p for a small YouTuber like me. So I just set it to 720p because it takes less of a load on my graphics card and my input delay. So yeah. Pre-pass mode, I don't really know what it is. Constant bitrate, I set it to 3500, which is a pretty good quality in my opinion. And yeah, that's for my streaming settings. My recording settings, I would definitely recommend you go lower than this if you have a bad PC. My specs are listed down in the description below, and these settings work pretty good for me because I use replay buffer for my clips now. I used to use AMD, but everything's really glitchy about AMD drivers, so I usually just use OBS for this stuff. So yeah. And for yeah, this is basically just it. So the target bitrate, you should usually just set it to like, so this is like 70 Mbps, I think. So like you should definitely like not try this if you have a bad PC, by the way. So just don't do it if you have a bad PC. Just set it to something like 10,000, 20,000 if you feel lucky. But this is what works best for me. It's like the perfect balance between quality and stuff like that. So yeah. For audio, I just don't, really mess around with it too much. I might set it to, something higher later, but right now I don't think anybody really notices a difference. So yeah. Replay buffer, I set it to 30 seconds because 30-second clips is already all that I need, because half the time I just clip them fast enough for that. So yeah. And 512 megabytes is more than enough for like 30 seconds. So yeah. I don't notice any lag spikes, but if you do, set it a little higher, because if you set it to like a minute or something like that, it's definitely going to lag. Audio, I just set, yeah, as I said, just set it to that, and yeah, that's basically all it is. So if you like this video, please subscribe.